Oh man, Yellow Jacket is deader than a dead thing can be dead, right? Howdy, I'm Kevin, and this is my commentary on comics. We're continuing what will be our all-season-long journey into the late 1970s Marvel Team-Up series. Now, if you remember from last episode, Equinox is after Spider-Man, and the Yellow Jacket and the Winsome Wasp come to Spidey's aid. Unfortunately, Yellow Jacket is blown up by Equinox at the end of last issue. Now, if you've already subscribed to my channel, you would have already known that, but if you haven't, hey, do it! Then you can skip ahead when I do these last episode recaps. Hey, and let's like and thumbs up and all that other stuff you're supposed to do right now. Do it! Do it now! Marvel Team Up number 60. A Matter of Love and Death. Published on August 1st, 1977. Writer, Chris Claremont. Penciler, John Byrne. Inker, Dave Hunt. Now, they don't give a cover credit, but I'm going to bet Dave Cockrum and Al Milgrom did this cover since they did the last one. And speaking of covers, this one, while full of action, isn't really all that special. It's certainly not the emotional setup of the last one. The splash page, however, is a completely different story. You got the police on the scene. The Wasp is understandably upset, although I don't really understand why everyone's kind of standing around with Equinox, standing on that pile of rubble, especially with this one guy. He has his coat just kind of casually thrown over his shoulder. Doesn't seem to fit. I mean, if you've got this guy that's on fire and he's ice and he's standing right there, why is everybody else just kind of standing around? I think I'd be going after the dude. Obviously, the Wasp feels the way I do because she isn't waiting any longer and fires her all but useless stingers at Equinox, which he obviously laughs off. Now, Spidey pulls her away from Equinox before he smushes her with some rubble, and they finally meet up with the woman who was following Equinox in the last issue. And in case that wasn't obvious, this is Equinox, or Terry, as we found out his name was last issue as well. That's his mother. She says that the strain of Terry's constant and increasing thermic changes is making him crazy, and hey, that's kind of obvious. The Wasp isn't hearing about it and says he's a killer. Spidey tries to calm her down, and the Wasp lashes out at him. What do you know about agony, mister? Who have you ever lost? Well, if she only knew. I mean, good grief, Peter Parker is the king at losing people. But Mama Equinox has a device that is supposed to stabilize Equinox's powers, and she uses it, but unfortunately, it doesn't work. It absolutely has no effect on him. So we got to cut now to the obligatory origin story for Equinox. Basically, his father, who beat his mother, drank a lot, was also a brilliant physicist. One night in his lab, it exploded and his son tried to get him out, but as we all know, all comic book lab explosions cause all kinds of bad. That's what happened. Terry was exposed to some weird energy while his dad died instantly. Terry's mom tried to cure him, but it wasn't working. So Terry decided the only way to heal him was to steal what he needed. And you could see that the decline was becoming worse and worse because spikes were starting to grow out his head. That's a classic sign of things going bad. Now Spidey, Dr. Sorensen, and the Wasp need to fix her gun. And the best place for that? Well, the Baxter Building, home of the Fantastic Four. Unfortunately, the FF are out of town. The Baxter Building defenses immediately sprang into action, but the Wasp's Avengers Code Omega clearance gave them access. A handy thing to have, an Omega Code emergency clearance thing for sure. So while they work on the gun, Equinox continues to tear through the town, eventually causing a blackout. Now, while the power went out at the Baxter Building, the emergency generators did come on. But when they did, the security systems, quote unquote, forgot that the three had that Omega clearance and started blasting them. They head to the lab that is laser free, but the Wasp doesn't quite make it. So while trying to find her way to the lab, the Wasp notices that she's a lot faster than she was before, and when she sees an empty screw hole, thinking maybe she could kind of pry open this grill to get into the vents, she discovered that she's a lot stronger too. Now her instinct tells her Hank, the late Yellow Jacket, rest in power, did something. You think? He only gave you your powers to begin with, Wasp. This isn't some cosmic insight you have here. So Spidey and Dr. Sorrison finish up the stabilizer gun thing. Spidey figured out that the device needed to have direct contact with Equinox as opposed to being blasted at him. And as if on cue, or I don't know, perhaps it was written that way? Crazy. Equinox blasts through the wall. Spidey figures webbing his hands will give him an edge. Well, he is wrong. While they fight, a carved wand of some sort falls free from some sort of status safe. What is that? Probably nothing we will find out about in this issue, but stay tuned for future episodes of Kevin's commentary on comics where we will explore this very thing. So the two fight a bit more, and suddenly who shows up? Yellow Jacket! What? He's not dead? Comics have lied to me yet again. He sure is standing there very Superman-like, isn't he? It's no time for a family reunion. YJ tells Wasp to blast Equinox with everything she's got, and sure enough, she does, and her stingers are now way more powerful than before. Looks like Yellow Jacket gave Jan a power-up while he was powering himself up. How he managed to power her up without her knowing, that's a mystery. So now that Yellow Jacket is there, he gets the honor of slapping the stabilizer on Equinox, and this time it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Terry is unconscious and no longer alternating between fire and ice, although he still doesn't quite look normal. Yellow Jacket explained that when the blast happened, he zapped himself down to insect size, where he didn't die, but he was knocked unconscious. He also explains that he gave Jan a modified serum to increase her powers. What a happy ending. Except when did he give Jan this modified serum? If we go back to last issue, before all of this went down, I think they may have been having champagne or something. Is that what he did? He mixed it into the champagne? Maybe if he did put it into champagne, then the alcohol maybe had a delayed reaction, and that's why she didn't get it. Although Yellow Jacket explains it must have been some trauma of seeing him die that kicked the powers into gear. Well, it's a happy ending except for Spidey, of course. He needs to stick around and clean up the mess that's at the Baxter building. But uh-oh, that wand, it's starting to glow. Next issue. And you know what? This does make a lot of sense. The Human Torch is here. Woohoo! Another great issue. I love it when heroes get boosts in their powers, but not godlike boosts. When they become too powerful or become a dark version of themselves, and every time they become a dark version of themselves, they're always double their power. I'm usually out of it. I mean, it worked for Dark Phoenix, but anything after that was really just a pale comparison. We didn't get a Dark Wasp here, but we did get a Wasp that was probably due, way overdue, for a power-up. It's interesting that they did that in the pages of Marvel Team Up and not the Avengers, but hey, they were probably in the middle of fighting Korvac or something like that. So I'm Kevin, and that was my commentary. What are your thoughts on Yellow Jacket and the Wasp? Honestly, I have no idea where they are in current day comics. I remember, I think Hank became the Wasp for a while, but now maybe he's dead or she's dead, or I don't know. Certainly wouldn't be the first time either one of them have died and came back from the dead. That's for sure. So next time we'll find out what that glowing wand is all about and if Spidey actually gets anything cleaned up. So come back for it. It's going to be fun. So go out today, make this day a really, really, really good one, and I will see ya.